I made a decision early on in my teens when I went to college. I'm all in on this. So that's what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was like 8. So the way to go about it is to be all in. From all the books that I've read about other artists and other musicians, you go all in, but then there's that balance from, excesses that come with it. Heavy lies the crown, as they say.
I'm here with Robert Haigh, artist, musician, and we're going to be in the Forge discussing his creative processes, his history, and his wonderful future that he's got going on.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Henry. And it's I'm humbled to be here.
I've wanted to talk to you and pick your brain for a while now. You make beautiful
For
art
neighbors
pieces.
in the space.
Right,
so.
yeah, and we've sat down and talked before, but it's not been enough. I wanted to get to know you a little bit more. I wanted to really like be in the Forge with you, with in a different space where we can dissect your creative processes and thinking and
and I can, tell people how to survive as an artist.
Absolutely.
And how kind fate can be, I guess. So, I'm going to be giddy about it. So.
So before we get into the awesome stuff you're working on now and about to do, what is a little bit of your history?
Yeah, I started being creative. I was reading at the age of 3, 4 and that, and read books and picked up pens and sketched and started playing the recorder in the 4th grade and went right to the clarinet, and that's when the music took off. Went formally educated through the school system. Had a wonderful high school teacher, Mr. Dick Weiland. It just kind of took me under his wing, even though I was hard to put under a wing. I was kind of an asshole. I was the squirrely kid, and music and band, it just fit well with me, and I took that on vacations when we went to where my mother's from in New Orleans, and I'd sit in on open jams and learn how to play.
Wow, so are you from New Orleans?
My mother's from southern Louisiana.
Spent a lot of time down there?
A lot of time, like 4 to 6 times a year, we'd go down to see her side of the family. So from New Orleans, the Lafayette to the Gulf is a lot of relatives down there.
And
it was
so
awesome.
Is there anything specifically in your childhood that's sort of influencing the main like theme, or a main theme that you've noticed through your artwork?
Music inspires me, definitely. Being a musician, that's what kind of gets the blood going, gets me redirected if I need to be. And then music, I don't have creative blocks.
Yeah, that's wow.
So I go from like painting or creating sculptures, that the physical side, to sitting down and creating something at the piano or a guitar, doing something like that.
Right. Can you translate some of the thoughts that you have, like for like when you're working on a musical piece and then you move to your sculpture or your painting? Can you translate the same emotion you feel like? And
sometimes I've done that, in the past, where I would be working on like soundtrack music or something, to where I mostly do intuitive on a soundtrack. Either I see the film or a theme, and then I don't know, it just comes, and sometimes I'll have something on the easel and I'll have to go over there, or my scheduled time, because I schedule my time in my mind. So much music, so much art, and other creativity things to keep a balance, because I got to promote myself too. And that
that's the hard part.
I always forget to do that. That's the one mundane detail that I strive to do better on is to better promote myself to the people that believe in me as an artist and a musician.
Right. And I think that's honestly one of the biggest overlooked things in art, and one of the hardest things for like focused artists to even consider. And honestly, that's something that I love. Like, communication and marketing is what I see as like an art form, and what I really
exactly
try to tackle a lot of things with and approach it with that artistic mindset.
Yeah, being an artist and musician, there's a balance. For me. It's about balance with the two mediums I'm working in, being a musician and an artist, and then talent and ambition. Balancing it all. You have to have just that right balance, not one too much or the other, because you'll get sidetracked, and you can't have more than one.
At a time, you're saying, right?
Yeah, you have to keep striving to find the balance. Like talent and ambition, you can have all the talent in the world, but just sit on your ass, and it's not necessarily squandering it away, but it doesn't really dawn on you that you could put a little effort to it. And then you could have all the ambition in the world, and it's a crapshoot if you're going to make it or not. No talent, but
Right.
History shows that you don't got to have much talent to make $1 million or be president. So,
Oh gosh. Yeah. No, a lot of the times it's being lucky at the right place at the right time, and
luck has
convincing the right people
yeah, and that's where
or the wrong people.
You have to be a little P.T. Barnum too. The people that I've hooked up with in Europe have helped me with the self-doubt. There's one thing that I know very well about myself through being at this point, walking away. I'm either on top of the world or I'm a nihilist.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to stay out of the nihilist thing, but you have to be aware that that's the extreme that you're going to touch once in a while. It's not that you failed, it's just you're still trying, but when's it going to end?
Right. And how are you able to overcome that and not have the creative blocks and to continue creating? Because I know it's like multiple art forms, but like, is there any time where you have to force yourself?
No. During I live with anxiety and depression.
Okay.
I found that out in my 20s. I was unaware of it.
Well, and if it's, I'm wondering if it's just like part of your daily life that you don't even consider not making.
I made a decision early on in my teens when I went to college. I'm all in on this. So that's what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was like 8. So the way to go about it is to be all in. From all the books that I've read about other artists and other musicians, you go all in, but then there's that balance from, excesses that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Heavy lies the crown, as they say. So.
Right. Yeah, I think what I'm really...
And I'm focusing, that helps me focus to keep out of that block area, being creative, knowing that I'm all in on this, and I don't know, to quote Apollo 13, Gene Kranz, that failure's not an option.
Right. That's what it means to live to you, is to make art. And
as I get up in the morning, and I still have paint on my hands from yesterday, so...
Right.
Yeah, it's not that the bath is an option, but I get up in the middle of the night, inspired. So it's a 24/7, 365 thing. I could be doing it for someone else, which I did as a master journeyman in the print trade for 40 plus years. So.
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that some more. You working in the print trade, because I know you still use that ink in a lot of your painting
Yeah.
process today. So I want to hear a little bit about your history in that printmaking, and then why you still continue to use that ink today.
It started out as something that was really cool, working in a letterpress shop when I was in my early teens, and then it blossomed into the. My dad knew that I was either going to go to music school, my parents did, or go to art school. They weren't really too dotes on that. They're not going to pay for it. So, and my dad suggested a skilled trade, so that's what I did. And I went into printing. It was a photomechanical process back then, and engraving process. Um, because I, I figured out that I would be able to have total control over the reproduction of my work if so said. And it was what I thought it would be, printing. It was very you could get into multi-disciplines, how to make a book, how to print, flexography, lithography, gravure printing, letterpress, direct, indirect, offset. It was just so many things, and the money was very lucrative. Like, to be an apprentice at that time, 16, I was making like $28.50 an hour just putting stuff in a box.
Heck yeah. When was that?
1977.
That sounds pretty nice.
So yeah, and unfortunately, trickle down economics didn't work. The trade stayed strong, and was very good to me. I have masters in all the disciplines: pre-press, book binding, mechanic, press operation. But the digital age changed everything. Went from photomechanical to digital. No more film. And it was really cool setting up shots of line copy, arranging line copy by hand on copy boards. Very labor intensive. Mistakes were few and far between because there were so many eyes and hands on it.
Okay.
That and it was life size. It wasn't like on a small screen looking at, desktop publishing and that. This
Right.
was all copy. If you've ever been in a pre-press to a newspaper house back, when I was in the 80s and that, it was all photomechanical still. So they had to get the copy, then shoot the copy, and the film, strip the film, put it on a plate, mount the plate, get it registered. It was a lot of work. And it was sexy, so.
And so you did that for a really long time, and you
I
mastered it. You literally have masters.
I got a name.
And so that's still a really big part of your art today.
Yeah, I use the materials. I found out, being an artist, commercial printing ink has the same properties as oil paint. It has different additives, resins. Some are polyester based, soy based. I learned how to manipulate that into something a consumer would use, because the materials I use are not available on the consumer market unless you have a print shop. I also work with UV inks, which, you have to have protection so you don't breathe the fumes or, get it on your skin, because it will cause dermatitis and stuff real bad. And then I have to cure it, so certain inks, like a UV ink, I'll have to make sure that it's cured with a ultraviolet light. Otherwise, it stays live, and I pass it on to a customer, and then they get the dermatitis.
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's happened.
Yeah.
And
There is something that could be fun about a dangerous piece of art that you're selling, if they know up front that you're selling it. You can't touch this or you'll die.
Well, I use a blue that was a Dayglow blue produced in the late 70s out of Cleveland.
Huh?
And that was the city that always had the Cuyahoga River on fire back then. That's why
All
we
the
have
chemicals.
the EPA. Yeah. It's a Dayglow color that has formaldehyde in it, and the color will just stay that color forever. It's this vivid day glow beyond the blue sky blue. I don't know. It's
Yeah, that's
PMS 801. So
that's something that I was thinking was probably a big consideration for you continue using the press and print ink. Is that the archival like properties of it?
it's the same ink that you read in magazines, newspapers.
It's gonna last,
It's gonna last forever.
right? Longer
Yeah.
than the paper or canvas that it's on.
Yeah, depending on the paper, and I get privy to paper too. Being people just throw stuff out in the printing industry,
Mhm.
and I can
Repurpose
use
that?
Yeah, I can repurpose it. Most of my work is on repurposed things.
That's great.
Uh, it started out not having enough money to buy canvas and stuff like that, and then it blossomed into, you know, I can't see this being thrown away.
Dude, yeah, it's kind of punk rock too, and it's
Yeah.
that found art, so almost like, and
You got to be unique as an artist too, so
Mhm.
that's my edge without throwing poop on a canvas, I guess. So
something else that we had discussed before is a project you're working on is the cave paintings and the hieroglyphic.
from
So,
the archaeology series.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would like to
Yeah.
get into that a little bit because I think that's really cool, and you doing that on found pieces of paper in this archival way. I'm just like it's finding it on a cave wall, like thousands of years later, like that where that wall was.
It's
What
not
that
a
was their
fresh sheet of
canvas.
paper out of the
Right.
mill. It's something that was grabbed, kind of found to leave a message for. The archaeology is continuations, not so much in a chronological way, but of the civilizations that have come before where we are now, leaving messages. So someone might have grabbed a piece of paper and wrote in their primitive language or their way that they could understand, and maybe pass on as an educational tool to the next. It gave it that feel. You just interpreted what I was after. So it's up to 80 pieces now.
Well, yeah, I mean,
So
you've done a great job in actualizing your vision and having that idea. So you're also a history major as well, right? You said you
correct
wanted to
art
be a
history,
teacher, and
yeah.
so what specifically about are you the archaeological series? Is that what you said it was called?
The archaeology.
The archaeology series.
Yeah.
What was your original inspiration for that?
Well, I was having I've been wanting to do something unique as an artist, not real quick side note, as an artist, I am an artist and a musician. I'm not like a white artist or no identifier. So I'm constantly thinking, what's going to separate me without changing my identity as an artist also?
Yeah.
And I started. I always go back to this one element, Archimedes' spiral or the conch shell, that gets my gears turning in a motion that's gonna spread thoughts outward for me, and then I can kind of pick as I think. It's hard to explain the process, but
I like to think about it though. But yeah,
it's a lot of thinking. So you take time to yourself to actually just spin the wheels and put the brakes on, and be aware of when to put the brakes on, because you're looking for something and you're trying to sort it out into an idea. So you're just kind of rolling along the countryside. You're looking at the scenery, but you're also you're going to have to stop. You don't get ahead of yourself either.
How do you know when you've reached the correct point in that spiral that you start in your thought process? That
Something
you
will
begin.
come down on paper.
Okay.
I'll have to transfer that to paper
it'll
before it
feel
goes
right.
away. Yeah.
Okay.
And as I'm creating with the archaeology series, there was inspiration from the civilizations, primitive and present, and also things that had inspired me as an artist, like mid-century artist. For some reason, this lady, Ray Eames, was a famous artist from the 50s, abstract expressionist, and came up with this furniture that we use today. It was revolutionary at the time, the Eames chair. It's in every workplace. It's just awesome. And it was really simple, just black and white lines with dots on it. And it represented, to me, a freedom. You just, it sticks with you. It looks atomic. It looks primitive. It looks present, past, and future. All as simple as can be. I'm all about less is more too, even though I babble a lot. But yeah, some of the greatest things are very minimal. They leave a lot of negative space. I like to play with negative space, because that, especially with my paintings, that to bring in the matron or the patron into the painting itself, and then they try to figure out what I'm thinking about. And
yeah, if negative space is used effectively, it draws you in more. Like you feel that void and you want to fill it, and so if it's like an inviting use of space,
why didn't he put anything there?
Right.
So I'm gonna walk in and look behind it. This is more, why haven't I been doing this the whole time?
Right.
And that brings into an appreciation also, like I try to get the person to, I have a saying, I don't know who first came up with it, but art comforts the disturbed and disturbs the comfortable. Yeah, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
It kind of
Okay,
does at
like
times.
the art. Yeah,
So if you're
especially
afraid to see the art I do, if it's like, what the hell is it, or that looks like crap, I've just disturbed the comfortable, because they're comfortable with their lives. Everything is status quo, and it's very comfortable. And then there might be someone who's a little skittish being out in the world, and they see something that's behind me, and they're just drawn to it. They're like, there's an oasis here. I hope no one else knows about it, Yeah. And that comforts the disturbed. So.
Yeah, and I've noticed a lot of your artwork will be like very abstract with like there's no place. There's not really a place for your eyes to like land a lot of the time, but there's always somewhere for it to go.
Yeah, you make your own reference points and places, at certain works of mine. My style is the same, but there's just things that it doesn't look like me, but it's me.
You're well versed, of course, yeah.
And that's another thing that keeps me out of the block too, is being like that.
Trying new things.
Yeah, trying new things, and actually being all in, making notes, thinking of things. Archaeology was thought of 12 years ago, even before I got back into painting 10 years ago. I walked away for 30 years. So.
Wow. What was that about?
I got married and had a child. Hi,
Okay.
Brittany. It's Daddy. She's 25 and she's in New York, so
Cool.
Doing very well.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. So it's good to have you back as a painter, making stuff again. What you want to get a little bit into the new stuff that you're working on? You're going to be heading out to Europe here soon.
Holy cow. Yes.
You can swear.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's big, man.
This is big. So, yeah, I'm going to be going on a residency to Hanover, Germany. And from there are plans to nurture me as an artist and to be handled by some pretty prominent people. There's Dr. Erika Brenning is, the biggest part of me going on with this. I'm humbled to the point where it still doesn't seem real, Henry. You know that I'm gonna have a studio to myself. I'm gonna be just free to create and handled, and to be free as an artist. This is something I've tried here, for a long time, and it's still competitive over there, but it's not. They know what they're looking for, and they found it. And I knew what I was looking for, and we found each other. Fate can be very kind. You never know.
That's so great for you, Bobby. I'm so excited to see what you make and what you curate. You already have a few shows planned out
curating.
there.
I a few shows planned in Hanover and Berlin. So
wow, exciting.
Yeah, I have visions of sugar plum fairies dancing in my head. So,
what is the one big experience that you're looking forward to over there? And then what is something that you're maybe a little bit nervous about?
I'm my own worst enemy. That's what I'm nervous about. Dropped my keys down an elevator shaft to start out last week. So,
man, you're doing just fine. All right.
We're resilient. That's one thing I firmly believe in myself, and I know for a damn fact is that I'm resilient. I wouldn't be here if I couldn't. I have a saying: if I couldn't turn goat piss into gasoline, I don't know what I'd do. So, and just to walk off that plane with all my gear and my work in my hands, like I did in New York in '87 when I left Lower Town, and just see what the day brings, and go meet my contacts that I haven't met in person. We've been putting this off for a year and a half. So
right. How has COVID, if you want to get into that, affected this? Because I know it's put a lot of things on hold for you.
It's put a strain on us. We're 7 hours difference.
Mm-hmm.
So it's put a strain on us as far as for communicating and being real time and being in person. For them as filmmakers, it's backed them up in editing rooms to the point where things are behind a year now.
Right.
Can't as well as anyone.
Right.
Just one person can be in an editing room. They need more people.
I editing at home by myself, or like in a room by myself, and not having even other people just looking at their own screens. It's really tough.
It's a lesson in futility. It tries you. I get it, and things are starting to open up. So we all bonded kind of together, and knew we treated this. It's a global pandemic, so we treated it as a long temporary, like polio was, like pertussis or whatever. They had to come up with something like a vaccine to stop this, because they knew that it was something that was going to carry on from this point on now.
Right.
Like polio and that, smallpox and stuff like that. It's always going to be here. And it's of such urgency where it's going to need a suppression, such as a vaccine to carry. If you want to carry on an immunity in a herd, then something has to be introduced to build that immunity type of. We had some really cool conversations with this. They're smart people, and I really welcome that, really nice. There's so many unique things that are happening. Last year we had an election. This year they have an election. Just our 2016. Their country's in good shape like our country was in good shape. And there's so much I'm looking forward to. I guess I'm looking forward to see how history plays out again. Because it just seems I've been in certain places when history's happened, And I'm looking forward to this going down, just, December 14th, 1989 was the fall of the Berlin Wall. So, and I was in Trieste, Italy when that happened. And
Holy cow.
yeah. And I remember,
What was that
going
like?
to West Berlin.
What was that like when you were there?
Everyone was happy. Holy cow,
Yeah.
finally, And things were opening up, I mean, I was really into the Cold War, reading all about it as a kid, and and what the origins, and it was just senseless bullshit, actually. So, but it changed civilization where we are. We're still in the oil age.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we've hit peak, we're scrambling to come up with what's gonna be for the 22nd century. Everything's gonna be different then.
Yeah.
What we know is not gonna be here.
We got to figure out a lot of different solutions for power
Yeah, I mean, I grew
and
up
water.
with, waiting for the flying car. So, the fuck is that thing? I don't have one yet.
There is actually a plane car that was just made. Like, it
I
has wings that
believe it.
come out. The back flips out. It has a propeller on it, and it takes off of a runway like a plane. And then you can land it. It all folds in, and you can drive on the road.
Oh, cool. See, I remember the amphibian automobiles.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way in the United States, we're a car culture.
Right.
Over in Europe, you look at, we bombed the living shit out of every bridge, every tunnel, everything, train track over there during World War II. They rebuilt everything, and they still use it to this day. We went from that transportation system where it was, trains get around, to the jet age, to the car culture. And we just let the train transportation and rail just kind of go by the wayside for passenger service,
Mm-hmm.
We don't use it efficiently like they do in Europe. And we bomb the shit out of this stuff. So they just know what, to me, it's we lose our sensibility here, it seems, and we're not good at end games.
No, yeah, we kind of don't really like to solve problems. We like to just keep things going on so that we can always
Fund
have
it.
solutions and get money
Yeah.
for it.
We
Yeah.
can fund it and do research on it. And
Yeah. Oh, they'll figure it out someday, and
Yeah,
then 20 years later, oh no, we haven't done anything.
Yeah, look at the planet. I mean, yeah, the planet changes. That's, if you believe in science,
Yeah.
that if you leave an ice cube in a warm room, it's going to melt in the water.
Here in Minnesota, we're not getting snow until December 27th most of the time.
Right.
Like maybe a couple days before Christmas if we're lucky.
And where we are in Minnesota, you're either frozen to hell during the winter or burnt to a crisp during the
It was
summer.
like 100
So
this summer, the whole time.
24
I
days
loved
over
it.
90s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I loved it, but like that is crazy, man.
That's
That's
crazy.
not even like that's undeniable climate change. Like that is it's a different climate now, right?
I'm going towards there's a definite effect of global warming in
Absolutely affected us right
in
like
Europe
this year.
where they are, where I'm going in Hanover, but they have a temperate climate too, so
Mhm, next
I'm
the
going
ocean.
to enjoy their zero. Their zero is 32 degrees is fine with me, for
Mhm.
winter. So
If that's the coldest it got, bring winter. Yeah, whenever you want.
yeah, I'll take zero.
Winter can hang. Yeah,
Yeah, zero here sucks. So
Terrible, man. It hurts.
it hurts, is right.
So, is there anything else that you wanted to plug or bring up before we step out of the forge here?
Yeah. I'm wrapping up my stay here at Creator Space, and I'll be back in November and that.
I'm excited for you, man.
I am
can't wait
too.
to
I'm
see you.
excited for everyone that I'm gonna come back and drag people with me. Eh? You're
Cool.
one of them, Henry. So you better get some talons and hang on, man.
Okay,
So
I will. We'll
it's gonna
keep
be
in
a
contact.
gas.
Get a
Yeah.
new phone, get a new number, and make sure I get it.
I'll have the same number. I get a phone this
Sweet.
Friday. So
I got you locked in already. So
beautiful, beautiful,
Rad.
Henry. Thank you very much.
thanks for hanging out, man.
No worries.
See ya.
See ya.